A Lesson on Social Justice by Jessica Flores
and Savannah King.
Oh boy! Teach me, I want to learn.
Imagine Jess and I live in the same apartment complex.
Okay, I'm imagining it. Go on.
At the apartment complex, there are no individual utility meters, and it's all on one master meter.
When we get our utility bill, it's split equally amongst all the residents.
Right, okay, so you have a communal electricity bill. Gotcha.
I save energy by always turning the lights off, and I buy energy-efficient light bulbs. This benefits everyone because it reduces the bill altogether.
I buy high-watt light bulbs and always leave the light on. I enjoy the benefits while everyone else has to pay.
Geez, Jessica, why do you have to be such a jerk?
This is the perfect example of how selfishness is the moral flaw in capitalism.
Yeah, your selfishness... Wait, what? Capitalism? But you said there was a communal bill. Everyone pays an equal share of the costs, regardless of their own expenditures of energy. That's not capitalism.
The billing system at our apartment complex is paying Jessica to do the wrong thing, both morally and economically.
This arises in situations where private property does not exist.
Right, but private property exists in capitalism. In fact, private ownership is a big part of capitalism. I mean, I'm no economist, but America operates under a capitalistic system, and we have private property with capitalism. So...
Does this example represent the principles of social justice?
First, let's take a look at what social justice is. Social justice is a moral assessment of the way in which wealth, jobs, opportunities, and other goods are distributed among different persons or social classes.
So, communal examples of capitalistic sins into social justice. Right. Okay, let me switch mental gears here. So, let's focus on two words in that definition that you're using. Moral assessment. Big question to ponder here. One that you two never address in this video. Whose moral assessment? And what directs their moral perspective? If their moral perspective does not align with mine, should they be allowed to dictate to me what is just? I would really like answers to these questions.
Some people get confused that having all the residents equally pay the bill, regardless of usage, is just because it entails equality.
But having the master meter at the apartment complex is unjust, because equality is no more than a first approximation of justice. It's a starting point.
Some people. Who are these some people? And yes, equality of outcome is not inherently just. Everyone paying the same price for everyone else's differences is an imbalance. Makes me wonder, then, why you're promoting social justice, an outlook that essentially demands an equality of outcome while ignoring individual merit.
In other words, the equal distribution of wealth is an unsatisfactory measure of justice. Equality is not always just.
Yes, again, equality of outcome in the absence of individual merit is unjust. And so again, why are you pushing social justice?
So, the question then arises, how do we achieve social justice in our apartment scenario?
The corrective mechanism to achieve justice is to have separate meters for each individual apartment.
The individual meters would effectively privatize utilities within the building.
The utilities in the building would then be converted from communal to private property.
Okay, you just said it there. The electricity costs are communal. You want to move to an individual responsibility model. You'll pay less of a bill using energy-efficient bulbs than by using ordinary bulbs. You'll have more money to spend and be better off than your neighbor. You'll prosper over your neighbor based on your own decisions. How is this not resembling capitalism?
If each of the apartment owners are accounted for their own energy usage, both economic efficiency and economic justice will prevail.
By privatizing the utilities, this will eliminate energy selfishness and achieve energy justice.
Economic justice, energy justice. Right, you pay for what you use. I don't disagree, technically, but this is still compatible with capitalism.
The private property system will free me and others from being victims of Jessica's injustice.
Well, if Jessica is more of a drain on electricity than you are, eventually energy prices will rise based on usage, and you'll still have to pay more for Jessica's injustice, but this is starting to make my head hurt.
Suppose in your household there are 3 children, you and your younger siblings, and your dad treats you all very differently.
Probably because we each behave as individuals, not as a collective.
Let's say your dad gives the youngest sibling $40 a week and they have the bigger bedroom, whereas you only get $20 a week, and you have to share a room with your other sibling.
Okay, so what are the circumstances involved? Does my younger sibling do more chores than I do? Do I have a job and don't need as much of an allowance? What are the extenuating factors?
Now, one might say that this is unjust, and that's probably true.
Probably true. Well, is it unjust or isn't it? By what metric are you making that judgment?
However, can we say the same thing about society as a whole? Is it unjust that some people can afford to do their business on a gold-plated toilet while others can barely afford a decent apartment?
And is it just that some can afford to not work at all, while some have to work long hours just to get by?
Is it just that your using energy-efficient bulbs will mean you have more money in your pocket than Jessica? Are your smart personal choices something that should be rewarded or punished? If you save more money than Jessica and can afford a gold-plated toilet as a result, why shouldn't you buy it if you want to? Should society force you not to have more money than someone else?
Another question, are the large inequalities of income that we have here in the United States a violation of social justice?
And also, what should the government's proper role be in this? Should the rich be taxed more and the poor less?
I am sure social justice thinks of it as a violation. Just recall the Occupy Wall Street fiasco. And I'm not standing in defense of the wealth disparity in this country, mind you. As far as taxes, the rich are taxed more and the poor less. That's why we have those things called tax brackets. The percentages of how much who should pay based on their income is an ongoing debate, but taxes are apportioned based on individual circumstances by the government.
Nozick and Hayek believe that the answer to this is no. But why? Think of the important differences between a large-scale society and your family.
The main reason why society differs from the family is because in a free market, there is no single person responsible for distributing wealth of others. Therefore, there is no way to accuse anyone for redistributing justly or unjustly.
So wait, you're complaining that there's no central source of wealth in our country? Are you asking for a totalitarian system? Do you want a single, unified welfare state? I'm not a student of economics. I would do poorly if tested on the finer points. But what they're saying here just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
We are all the central distributors. We contribute with all our decisions to the wealth. So, if there's no central distributor, how can something be just or unjust?
I'm going to take a stab at this one. Economics does not operate on the basis of morals or of justice. Attempting to inject subjective moral precepts into an economic system isn't how it works. That's what laws and regulations are for. Any economic system allowed to run rampant would eventually devolve into chaos. Laws and regulations attempt, not always successfully, to keep people in line, because people have a tendency to take advantage of weak people and weak rules, regardless of how moral they might claim to be. That's the human condition.
To recap, social justice is justice in terms of the distribution of wealth, opportunities, and privileges within a society.
Why did you leave out moral assessment? Why are you not addressing that component of your own definition?
However, one must always remember that the equal distribution of wealth is an unsatisfactory measure of justice. Equality is not always just.
Again, we agree in the broad strokes.
The individual responsibility and accountability that comes with a private property system is what gives rise to social justice.
A private property system gives rise to social justice. But a private property system can result in gold-plated toilets on the one hand and not being able to pay the rent on the other. I cannot tell what you are arguing for or against here because you keep contradicting yourselves.
A huge benefit of the private property system is that it simplifies life by largely freeing us from the concern that we are being victims of injustice. Just like I was the victim of Jessica's selfishness when it came to her utility usage at the apartment.
Private property frees us from the concern that we are being victims of injustice. You might want to tell that to the rich and privileged social justice warriors currently inhabiting a large swath of our public and academic institutions. They all need to be victims of something just to operate.
Because there is no central distributor in a free market society, it is misleading to extend the concept of justice to a society as a whole.
Thank you for watching. We hope we gave you a better understanding of what social justice means.
You have clarified nothing. You have explained very little. Your metaphors are misplaced, and your arguments are contradictory. Assuming this was a school assignment, I hope you receive a low grade and learn from your mistakes. But if you receive a passing grade without critique, I suppose that would be a victory for social justice. As always, thank you for watching.